Hello, 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 everyone. It's Teresa from Teresa's Spot for Art, where I love sharing art from my heart and teaching you how to create a little joy in your life through some fun, simple, and quick art projects. Welcome to day 26 of 31 Days of Halloween. Today we're doing like a paper craft, a little silhouette project, and we are making Mr. and Mrs. Bones. You guys have the PDF or the SVG, and I have out these two frames that I got. They're slightly different. I don't remember where I got these frames. These frames I ordered on Etsy. This is what we'll be using today. You want to measure the size of your oval because you want your silhouette to fit inside that oval, okay? So I'm going to turn you guys around. We're going to go over to silhouette. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to figure this out, okay? So here I have up my Silhouette Studio is open. I have up a tab in the upper left, one with Mr. and one with Mrs. Okay, I have my grids on for Mr. You put your grids on by going up here to page setup. And then the second one here is this little graphy box thing. I want to show my grids and I want to show my guides. This will help me size it. Then I have the business edition, so you might not have some of these tools, but I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on this oval shape from my left side menu, creating shapes, and I'm going to draw an oval. And I want my oval to be approximately 7 inches tall. Let me thicken it up a little bit. I'm going to change my line color to black, and I'm going to change my line thickness up a little bit so you can see it. Okay, and here is my oval. So my height on my oval is 7 inches. I'm going to grab a ruler and I'm going to measure the width on my oval, and it is about 4.5. You want to overcut this guy a little bit because you don't want to see any space around your backing. Okay, so I'm going to grab this node and I'm going to stretch out my oval to about 4.5. You can see this bottom measurement is changing. Okay, so that is the approximate size of my oval. I'm going to change this color. Actually, I'm going to change it to something really bright, like a hot pink. I'm going up here to my line menu. I'm going to click on the line color and I'm going to click this pink. Let's move him out of the way and move this up here. So this is the size of my oval, approximately. And here is my Mr. Bones. I want to place him in here. And make him a little bit bigger. I'm stretching him out from the corner so he fits in the whole oval. This takes a little doing. Okay, so now that I have my oval, I'm going to grab my frame and I'm going to work it in there as best I can. And I think that looks good. So this is going to be the size I want. I want to click on my bones, duplicate, and move him out of the way because I don't want to touch him. But now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click and drag on both of these. I'm going to come to the modify panel, open modify panel on the right. And here I'm going to crop. And this is what I'm left with. And that is what we're going to cut out on our silhouette cutting machine. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to grab Mrs. Halloween. I'm going to click on her. I'm going to copy, come back here, paste, and put her on here as well. And now with her, I'm just going to resize her to the same size as him over here, approximately. I'm just lining them up. So now I opened her here on the same panel. I'm just going to line her up over him. Okay, that's fairly lined up. Okay. Now I'm going to move her out. I'm going to make my oval shape again. Let me make it purple for you. So I'm going to come to my lines, line. I'm going to make it purple. Then I'm going to thicken it up a little bit so you can see it. And this time I'm going to make my circle to match her because I know she is the right size, or my oval rather. I know she is the right size because I lined her up with him over here. And I'm just going to make my oval, move it around to her. You can use your arrow keys. Okay, I have everything lined up. I'm going to grab these two again. I'm going to come over here to my modify panel. I'm going to do crop. And now I have her. And if I line these up right, I can cut them both on the same cut. Okay, so I'm going to come up here to the send. I'm going to click send. And here is where we pick our surface that we're using. And I'm going to click cardstock plain. Now, everyone's cutting machine, you might be using a Cricut, you might be using a different silhouette. Everyone's is different. So I have a blade depth of 3, a force of 20, and a speed of 4. I'm going to get my silhouette machine all set up. If you can see over here, these red cut lines are cutting out every little piece. So it's going to cut out the circle. It's going to cut out around her hair, her vertebrae, her teeth, and the same thing with him. That's all we want, of these outline shapes cut. I'm going to set up my silhouette. I'm actually going to put in a new blade because I'm paper cutting. I haven't paper cut in a while. And I will see you back in a minute. Now I've come over here to my silhouette cutting machine. This is a Silhouette 3. I have my mat. You don't want your mat too sticky when you're doing paper crafts. I'm going to lay down and line up my cardstock on my mat. I'm also going to change my blade. This is the blade I use all the time for vinyl. I'm going to change this blade. Let me get some scissors. And I'm also going to put paper on this blade, and I'm going to put it back, and I'm only going to use this blade for paper, which I used to have a paper blade, and then I didn't do so many paper crafts anymore, but now I think I'm going to. So I'm going to open this as carefully as possible, and take out my blade and pop it in all the way down. Oh wait, first I want to size it. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to size my blade to a 3. I want to make sure everything's tight, everything's good. And the way you size your blade is with this little, some of them need the tool that's in the silhouette, or some of them just turn. I'm going to put my blade on a 3 because that was my cut settings on my silhouette. And I'm going to pop it in. And I'm going to come and I'm going to load up my, let's move you guys closer. I'm going to load up my mat with the arrows here and hit the load button, and it automatically feeds. Then I'm going to go back to my computer. I'm going to hit test cut. Because I want to see if these settings are correct for what I need to do. The machine is calibrating. Okay, I did a little bit of a test cut. It's a small triangle and a square. I'm going to unload, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to see if it cut well. So can you see that little triangle and square? I'm going to come here, and it did not. So now I know that I need, that's not a good cut. I think I'm going to go to a 4. So I'm going to load my paper back in. I'm going to turn my blade now to a 4. And I'm going to try a second test cut. When you go for a second test cut, you can, in fact, move where you want your test cut to be. And I'm just taking this package and I'm writing paper on here. And then we're going to see, unload, how my second test cut came out. I don't like where it's located, but it was a good cut. Okay. So my paper seems to be shifting a little bit on my pad, on my mat rather. So I'm going to line it up, and this time I'm going to grab some paint tape, and I'm going to put a piece here, and I'm going to put a piece here. You don't want to put your tape where you're going to cut, because then that'll be too thick and not good for your blade. So I taped it down a little bit. I'm lining it up again with the arrows here. I'm going to feed it into my machine, load, and now we're going to send it to cut. We're going to let it do its thing, and then before I take it out, I'm just going to make sure that it cut well, otherwise I'll send it in for another pass. You don't want to take your mat out of the machine. You want to check it out first. Make sure you have a good cut, because if you need to send it again, you can, and it'll still be lined up. Before I unload it, I'm just going to lift up and make sure it's cut. Some of it is cut, some of it has not. So I don't like that. It didn't cut all the way through, so now I'm going to reevaluate my cut settings. I'm upping my blade from a 4 to a 6 and my pressure from 20 to 26. I didn't remove my mat from my cutting machine, so it all stays lined up, and I'm going to resend it. My design, see that it's cut through. Some of it has. Hard down here is not. I don't know why. That's interesting. He's been cut really well. I can almost lift him out of here. But she has not. I wonder why that is. I'm going to give her one last chance to cut right, and then we're just going to move on. Okay, now that this is done cutting, I'm going to come over here and see if she has finally cut out the right way. And she hasn't really. I don't know why this is. All right, so we're going to work with it. I'm now going to unload my machine, and we're going to get over to the next part. This is actually one of the first projects I ever made with my silhouette back in the day. Mr. and Mrs. Let me do that. Mr. and Mrs. Bones. Aren't they cute? I have out my cut silhouettes. I have out 2 pieces now of cardstock, and I have my frames. The first thing I want to do is base coat my frames. and my cardstock, and then we will discuss, okay? And again, this is what we're making. I could put them over here. I don't know if you'll be able to see them. There's one. Okay. All right. I have my ruler out because I had to resize my SVG. I'm just going to get out a little black paint. And the first thing we're going to do is base coat these frames. You can use any frame you want. I got these at a shop on Etsy. I only needed 2, so it was perfect. I forget the name of the shop. You know, everybody always says, where'd you get that? Oh, on Etsy. Meanwhile, there's a million sellers on Etsy. We each have our own name, including me, Teresa's Spot for Art. But everyone always says, oh, I got it on Etsy. I got it on Etsy. But we're all individuals on there. So I'm just quickly, I'm going to hold this down with this. I'm going to try not to get too painty today, you guys. Anybody want to put any money on that? Oh, I might get banned from Facebook for saying stuff like that. Anyway, quick coat. One, I'm going to move that out the way. And I'm going to get this one. So day 26 already. Tomorrow we have a special treat. And when I say treat, I actually do mean treat. Although you guys won't get to partake, but we will. So hit that out. Now I'm going to hold this one down. Oh, it doesn't matter because I have to put my finger on it anyway. Need a little bit more black paint. Obviously, I'm not being too careful here. I don't mind not getting into the nooks and crannies. We can even scruff this up with a sanding block and make it a little bit more rustic looking. I might even paint a little bit of silver on it because I'm going to show you, I'm going to paint my cardstock silver. Okay. And there we go. So I'm going to put these aside. What I should have done before I started painting was measure. So I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to put him here. I'm going to grab a pencil or a pen. Pen's fine. Let's see. I'm off. And I'm just going to trace this. Okay. And I need 2 of these. So I'm going to fold this in half. Okay. But not only do I need 2 of these, I need them to be slightly bigger. So now I folded it in half. I'm going to grab my scissors, which I left over there, and I'm going to cut this slightly larger than my circle. So we don't see any space through it, and we can line it up nicely on our frame. I'm doing it about a 1/4 inch. You have to go by your frame. I'm doing mine about a 1/4 inch larger. You would do whatever it is to make your backing and your Mr. and Mrs. Bones fit in your frame. All right. Now, obviously, we don't want the mark there, so I'm going to turn them over. I'm going to get out another piece of cardboard. And these I'm going to base coat in silver because I like the mirrored effect. You could leave them white for more of a contrast. This is silver, but you could leave them white. I'm going to base coat them silver. This is Folk Art Sequin Silver. It's got a little bit of a shimmer in it, and it's got little tiny bits of, what do you call it? Glitter. And I'm just going to base coat these in. You can do your back whatever color you want. You could leave it white, totally up to you. This is a fairly simple project. I gave you the PDFs and the SVGs for this. You can cut these basic shapes out. I wouldn't cut out any of the vertebrae or the teeth or the eye, but you can print out your PDF on cardstock and cut it out just the perimeter with a craft knife, with a craft blade and X-Acto knife. It would be a little tedious, but you could do it. You don't need a silhouette cutting machine. You don't need a Cricut to do this. And the same with him. I would not cut out any of this part down here or the teeth or the eye, but you could make a really nice silhouette just by cutting out the entire perimeter and using a knife to do so with the PDFs I provided. Don't really need fancy equipment. Now I have everything base coated. I'm going to move these over as well. I'm going to grab my glue stick. You can use any kind of glue you have. You can use your Aleene's. You can use school glue. I have this glue stick from Doris. This is a great glue stick for paper products. You can get it in my Amazon shop. I think it comes in a pack of 6, and I love it. So this is the glue stick I'm going to be using. I'm waiting for these to dry a little bit before I really make a mess. And then I'm going to move these guys out the way. Now, I don't know why. Here's my cutting mat, and here's my Mr. and Mrs. Bones. He cut out awesome. I'm just going to come in here. This is a beautiful cut. Look at this. Awesome. The pieces just fall out. Okay? And again, this would be the part that you would use if you wanted to cut yours out of the regular PDF that I sent, and with an X-Acto knife. Okay. He cut well. She didn't cut so well. I'm not afraid to admit it. These things happen. See, all his little teeth even fell out. Look at that. Just go like that. All his teeth. Beautiful, beautiful cut. So there we go. She did not cut so well. So if I can get her up without destroying her, we will do her as well, and not just him. Look how cool that is. Let me get rid of this little piece here. He cut beautiful. Let me put him on a little bit of white. But I have a Silhouette 3, so you would have to figure out whatever cut settings you need for your machine. Okay. Now we're going to work on her. I'm going to turn my mat over. I'm going to peel up from the back. And you can see right through here that she did not cut so well. I'm going to get my knife, and we're going to see if we can salvage her. I won't bore you with the details, but I did in fact sit here and cut out the perimeter of her silhouette, Mrs. Bones, with an X-Acto knife to get her out as best as possible. Okay, I know where I went wrong. This was craft paper, not cardstock, and I cut it on the cardstock setting, and I think that might have made a difference. Now I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to start working out these bits and pieces. All right, now we're going to put all these things together and see how cool they look. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is turn this guy upside down. I'm going to get my glue, and you can use craft glue. You can use a glue stick. You can use whatever you want. I'm going to put some glue right around the perimeter of my frame. Okay, I'm going to take my oval, and I'm going to line it up, make sure nothing is, well, I wonder if these are going to fit. Let me see. Am I going to have to pop this in here? No. So this is what I'm going to do first. I'm going to take him, and I'm going to glue him with my glue stick all around. Get the edges. Okay. Then I'm going to pop him as best on the center of this as I can. Okay. Get my burnisher. So my glue sticks. All right, then I'm going to come back to my frame that I already glued. I'm going to pop this on here. I'm going to use my burnisher again. And there we go. How cute is that? Got a little bit of glue on him, but that's okay. All right, now we're going to do the same thing with her. Let me get this piece of scrap paper. The first thing I'm going to do is glue her up. Get out some more glue. down her body, up around the circle. You want to be generous with your glue. Oh, I just ripped off one of her ponytails that I was so worried about before. We're going to stick that back on. Or not her ponytails, one of her wispies. But we'll fix that. I'm going to grab my other piece of white paper that I've painted with the gold. With the silver. And I'm going to lay her down right here in the middle. Get my burnishing tool. And make sure she sticks really well. I'm going to take this piece of wispy that goes out here. And I'm just going to attach it right where it goes. Nobody knows but you guys. Don't tell anyone, okay? I'm going to grab my other frame. I want to put glue all around. And again, you can use hot glue for this part. You can use Aleene's. You can use school glue, whatever you want. I'm using this Darice glue, so I just have to have the one glue out for this project. I'm going to take her. I'm going to flip her over. Line her up. Get my burnisher. This is actually the burnisher from my jelly plate, but I use it for everything, obviously. And then flip her over. Oh, it's on there. A little bit of stuff. And there we go. I like when they look at each other. And there we go. There is my, I don't like this. What I could end up doing, I can cut this off, this ring if I want. Or I can leave it. It doesn't matter. And there we have it. So these were the originals. These are the set I made today. The only difference is she doesn't have her teeth because that would have been too complicated. But I'm going to try and cut these again and hopefully they'll come out better. And there we have it. So what do you guys think? Let me turn you guys around. I love these guys. So again, the only challenge is you have to make yours match your frame. Okay, and because these are oval, they're a little bit, it would have been much easier on me if I used a rectangle size. It's much easier to size a rectangle than it is an oval. You have to do the oval. It's got the curves to it. But you guys have these PDFs. You guys have these SVGs. Grab a couple of frames, some black craft paper, some white cardstock, and you are ready to go. So thank you guys for joining me for another fun day of 31 Days of Halloween.